Okay, so this video is about the big R word. Everybody's talking about it, right? Maybe it's a conversation we've needed to have for a much longer time. It's one of those, like in any personal relationship, when you have an issue and you don't talk about it and it festers and then it explodes. But the way I want to start with the big R word here in this situation is with the big E word, or S word, whichever way. Empathy, sympathy. We need to come at this situation with empathy. And it's very easy to get some sort of righteous indignation and say, well, some people don't deserve sympathy. But I think that's got us on a crash course. And if both sides of the argument could entertain empathy, then we'll be able to make a lot of progress. So the first key to that, as far as I can see, is if I'm coming from a place of anti-racism, which I've done and I've been about since I was probably 12 years old, been pretty much an active anti-racist since I was 12 years old. It's something where I still have to have the understanding that not everyone has had the same experiences I have. They don't have the same friend circles I have to know what some of my friends and family have seen and gone through. They don't have the same experience of growing up where I grew up to see certain things. They don't have the same experience that, because of my latching onto this thing, I dove deep into looking up and trying to find answers to where this system began and what it's about and why it's happened, and the sensitivities of different things. So it's like when one person doesn't understand Aunt Jemima, I have to have sympathy to not just bludgeon them with criticism and with a label, because it's just not going to make any progress. If I draw a line in the sand and then I come out they're on a cliff is the analogy I've used recently, the metaphor. Like there's a person that's like right on the edge and they're about to, they're looking over at the abyss of what racism represents to this human spirit. And they might not be looking down, maybe they're looking out to the horizon. But we see him on the abyss and standing at the edge, and we come like 300 and this is Sparta and kick him over the edge. What's the point of that? It's my duty to say, listen, I understand that you might not understand, but take my hand and listen to this story. That's what my goal needs to be. Not to punish people. It's like Gandhi again, there's been things about people talking to me about how Gandhi was a racist early in his life, and I don't know the full scope of it. It's something I'm still looking into, but some of the stuff he said was undoubtedly things that can bring us forward, like the notion of do we fight to change or do we fight to punish? And so many people are just looking to Frank Castle this thing, be punishers. And that's where I was at a lot when I was young. I just was mad, and I just, I wanted to swing my sword. And that's really what John Brown did. But what we need to first have is empathy for people who don't understand these things. And if you're coming from the other side and you're saying, why am I being called a racist? Like, if you can first key into sympathy, then you're gonna lower that. You're gonna lower that energy to the point to where people aren't gonna say that. But if you come at things from a defensive posture, the defensive posture already makes you look guilty. And what I guess the main thing is that I see happening is in the United States, we have created a mythology of our history that's been whitewashed, and it's this ethnocentric, washing of the hands for, crimes and villainy through history. Take Christopher Columbus, for example. He's, for some reason, a symbol of America. And he never set foot on the soil of what is the United States. Never even walked on the United States. And yet so many people protect him just vehemently, this image, without also looking at things like the Haitians. One of the things that he did is, next week you don't bring me enough gold, I'm chopping off your hands. Like, that's not a symbol that we can something that we can champion. And then at the same time, you take someone like John Brown, who was an anti-racist in his time. He's like the king of anti-racists, and he's buried in history books or made to look like he was a crazy zealot when he is talked about. And so what I guess I see happen the most is that people cling to the religion of the United States. They're clinging to the mythology that's been, like, we all agree, for the most part, I think, most people agree that, slavery was evil. All of these evils that happened, they're bad, but they're history. When are we going to let them go? And I guess the odd thing is that the people who say that the most, when are we going to let it go, are the ones who unknowingly aren't letting it go, because they're vehemently and they're protecting this concrete worldview that's been cemented into their ideology from the time that we were little kids. And so then when people challenge those symbols and challenge that story, and you say, well, you're being un-American or it's unpatriotic, that's so much a part of the problem. You become racist in many people's eyes by, guilty by association. You're racist by proxy, because we know that, and again, I said, we've agreed that this was evil and bad things, and racism existed, and that it used to be really bad. But the ideologies and the mythologies that we even still teach in public school to this day were created in those time frames, and they haven't changed. And anytime someone wants to change it, the argument is you're being unpatriotic, and the argument is you're a communist, or you're an anarchist, and you want to burn the whole system to the ground and all this and that. But you're not examining. It's such a circular logic, and I understand, and that's what I'm saying. I have empathy for the fact that you might not know certain things, but where you have to have empathy or sympathy to get guided into this opening up is to say, let me hear, let me lower myself, let me listen to another person's perspective and get it and absorb some of this stuff and understand maybe why they're coming. I understand why people haven't heard or understood this stuff, and they don't have, the seed of evil racism in their emotions and in their heart like it used to exist, perhaps. But the relics and the symbols of that archaic time, if we cannot deconstruct them, get to the actual root and reality of what was happening, and then rebuild what we need to understand, it's going to continue. And so long as you bury your head in the sand and say, and kick and scream and fuss and say, stop messing with my George Washington or my Thomas Jefferson, you're going to look like you're protecting that, because that's what it is built for. It's a shield, it's a protection, it's a bubble that was meant to not be penetrated. See? And I mean, that's how ideologies are built and structured. And again, that's not to say that people don't have redeemable traits. That's not to say that people may not have done excellent things. You might be an excellent musician or painter and have built your skills to an incomprehensible level. But if you seed your images with racist ideologies or sexist or classist or whatever it is, then you would be skilled and have done something amazing in one sense, but the rest of it could be mucked up, So I guess all I'm saying is empathy, sympathy, whatever way you want to call it, lowering ourselves, opening up, dropping our defenses. But if you are on the side of being anti-racist and you just want to jump down someone's throat, you're not helping, is all I'm saying. That's not helping. I hope that that's not how this is coming off to people. I'm trying to have a conversation and open it up. If you're being anti-racist and you're automatically pointing the finger and smacking people in the mouth, they're going to go into a defensive posture. It's fight or flight. So you're not doing a service to anti-racism. At this point, there are better, the pen is mightier than the sword. There are better ways to handle this. Let's have some empathetic conversations. That's my piece. Peace.